Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to set up the DCC-EX EX-IOExpander. Today on Model Railroading with Bill Masters. For this tutorial, as far as hardware goes, what we're going to need is your DCC-EX CommandStation that I showed you how to set up in episode 62. And this tutorial assumes that you watched that episode and have everything set up. You're going to need another Arduino Mega. Now this can be done on an Uno. It can be done on basically any of the Arduinos. I'm going to show you the IOExpander on the Mega, because I like it, because it gives me the most pins available. I can get 62 sensors on one Arduino Mega. So it's pretty nice. You're probably going to want this. You're going to need a breadboard for this experiment. You're going to need 3 male-to-male jumpers, 1 red male-to-male jumper, 1 yellow male-to-male jumper, and 1 black male-to-male jumper. Now let's go over assumptions again. As I had said, this tutorial assumes that you have an Arduino Mega set up with DCC-EX EX-CommandStation installed and ready to go. Also assumes that you have DCC-EX EX-Installer installed on your PC. I covered both of those in episode 62. Alright, let's get on with the build. First, I'm going to put a reed switch on the breadboard. I'm going to put it on row 5 with 1 lead on the negative row, like this. Okay. Let's place a 100 ohm resistor on row 30 of the breadboard. Like that. Now let's place a 3 volt LED on row 30 with the negative N on the negative channel on the breadboard. Now this LED, the leads have already been cut, so you can't use that method to tell which side is the negative side. You can see which is the negative side because this side, if I can focus here, has a little bit of a flat end right there. So the flat end goes on the negative side. So let's drop it on there like this. Okay. Now we need our jumpers. So I'm going to place a blue jumper on row 5 and the other end on pin 2 of my Arduino Mega that I will be using for my IOExpander. Pin 2 is right here. There you go, it says pin 2. Okay. Now I'm going to place a blue jumper on pin 30 of the breadboard to pin 3 on the Arduino Mega, like that. Pin 3 right there. Now we're going to place a black jumper on the negative row of the breadboard. Let's put it here actually. In the negative row of the breadboard to any of the grounds on your Arduino Mega that you're going to be using for your IOExpander. You've got a ground here and you've got 2 grounds here. Any of those are just fine. I'm going to go ahead and put it right here. Now I'm going to put a red jumper on the plus 5 volts on the Arduino Mega that I'm using for my EX CommandStation and connect the other end to the plus 5 volts on the Arduino Mega that I'm using as my EX IOExpander. Now you've got a plus 5 here You've also got a +5 here. Same thing on that board. Your +5 actually channels up to be up there. So you could do any of them. Well, this just for the sake of consistency, I'm going to do this one. +5, +5. Now we're going to place a blue jumper from SDA pin 20 on the command station to SDA pin 20 on the expander. So let's do that. Let's place a yellow jumper on the SCL pin 21 on the command station. And the other end goes to, where do you think? SCL pin 21 on the expander. There we go. All right, at this point everything is hooked up, so it's not a bad idea to go through and just double check everything. Make sure you got everything hooked up to the right spot, and everything looks good. So let's move on to the software. Connect your I/O expander to your PC via the USB cable here. We don't at this time need the command station connected. Okay, let's go ahead and launch the installer here. This is what you'll get when you launch it. So we're going to manage Arduino CLI. And we're going to select our device. Now, this is the only thing I have plugged in. If you have more than one, just make sure you're putting it on the right one. The product to install. So right here you've got your DCC-EX EX-IOExpander. Now we're just going to assume that we've never installed anything here before, so we're just going to start with the defaults. We're going to go with the latest development version. And we're going to click on Configure EX-IOExpander. This is going to be the first one that we're setting up, so we're going to leave that at address 65 right there. If you were going to install a second one, you'd want to change that to 66, a third one to 67, and so on. Set that back to 65. Oops, 65. Also needs to be an I2C address that doesn't already conflict with another device that you have on your system, so be mindful of that as well. Alright, let's click compile and load. We'll just wait while it loads the sketch onto the Arduino. Select a place where you want to save it. Oops, browse. Select a place where you want to save it. Let's see here. I'm going to put it, let's see. And we have IOExpander installed on our Arduino. So now we can close everything out. Alright, go ahead and open up your IDE of choice. I'm using Notepad++. You can also use Notepad in Windows. What I need to do is I need to open up a file called myautomation.h, and that is located as part of the config file that you backed up when you originally installed DCC-EX EX-CommandStation. I'm going to go ahead and open that. It opens up to that folder on mine, and it's right there. Okay, so mine, I already commented out some of the other experiments I was doing, so that's basically all that's in there. We're going to need to add something to this. We're going to need to add a row that defines the I2C address 0x65. It will not work if you don't have that in there. So # define space I2C underscore address, that needs to be all caps right there, space 0x65. case matters. So make sure you've got all your uppercases and your lowercases the same. All right, we're going to add one more line. I'm going to put mine in experiments. I'm going to create a sketch that I'm going to write all the code that's going to control what we've just set up. So I'm going to paste this in here. I'm going to call that file my EX-CommandStation experiment.h. So you want to do something like that. So now I need a quote there on the end there. So I can save that. I'm done with that. Let's create a file. New. Let's go ahead and save it as. I'm going to save it in the same spot. I'm just going to call it my EX-CommandStation experiment.h. And I already have one in there. I'll just overwrite it. We'll leave the my EX-CommandStation experiment.h file blank at this point. We'll come back to it. We're going to create a file called, we're going to create or open a file called myhal.cpp. If you have one already, excuse me, if you have one already, you can open it and edit it. I'm just going to assume that we don't have one already, so I'm just going to make a new one. Save as myhal.cp. And it has to be capital M, lowercase y, capital H, lowercase al.cpp. So I'll replace the one that's in there. And so we're going to start with, so let's see here. First line we're going to need is a file or a line called pound if not defined io underscore no underscore how close parenthesis. Next line we're going to need include space quote io device dot h close quote. All right, now we're gonna skip 2 lines, and let's go ahead and put a close bracket there. Oops. Now this is where we're going to define the pins that we've added. So let's see. EXpander create open parenthesis. So we're going to start this at pin 2002. You just need a pin number that doesn't conflict with any others. So I have decided that on my setup I'm going to have all of the IO expanders starting at pins 2000. They are 2002 in this case. Next field over is going to be how many pins that it's going to want to assign. And so the IO expander on the IO or on the Arduino Mega, you're going to get 62 pins. That'll be fewer pins on your Arduino Uno. So you're just going to, I'm not exactly sure how many pins that is on the Arduino Uno, but you're going to want to put that number there. But I'm showing you the Mega. And then the address that we just put. So as you recall, we set that at address 65 when we did that installation. All right, so now we need one more thing. We need an end if. So at this point, the myhal.cpp file is complete. We could save it. All right, so we can close that one. We don't need that anymore at this point. Just make sure everything, that you typed everything exactly this way. Caps and lower cases all have to be exactly this way. All So let's go back to the My EX-CommandStation experiment file that we created. And we're going to set it up like this. First of all, we're going to declare a couple of aliases. So we put a read switch on the board. So we're going to call that alias is going to be read SW01, comma, and then we're going to assign that to pin 2002. All right. So now we're going to declare our, so now we're going to declare our alias for our blue LED. So we'll call that alias blue01. And then we're going to assign that to pin 2003. Okay, so now we've named our read switch read SW01, and we've named our LED blue 01, and we've assigned both of them to a pin. We're not actually assigning them to a pin. I need to clarify that right here. We're actually, so you'll see down and further on in the code that when we use the word read switch 01, it's going to replace it with that pin number 2002. And when we use the word blue 01, it's going to basically insert 2003. All right, so now you'll see where that comes in. So let's start a new sequence here. This sequence is going to be for when the sensor is off. So we need sequence number 1. Sequence 1. We're going to auto start this sequence when the Arduino loads. And we're going to say at minus sign, that's important, read switch 01. Now, basically, if we were to put here at minus 2000, oops, them locks are off, at minus 2002, I also got my insert pressed. That would be the same thing. But we're doing this so that it's easier to see, easier to read for a human. So that's what we got. Next line down. Reset. Now reset will turn an LED off. Okay, let me just put the last row in here and then I'll go through and I'll explain everything that's going on in that. Now this is in Rail, X-Rail code. X-Rail script, how we close the script, how we close the sequence. So we're defining our sequence right here. Sequence number 1. We're going to automatically start it, and we're saying if the read switch is off, we're going to reset. We're going to turn off blue LED. And then right here, we're going to just start it back up at the top, and then we're just going to recycle that through forever. All right, so now we got to do the same thing to turn the LED on when the read switch is triggered. So let's do a sequence 2. See what's going. We have it a sequence 1. Now we're doing a sequence 2. We're also going to auto start this one. And we're going to say, now here, we didn't put a minus sign. That means the sensor is on. The sensor is triggered. So, if it's triggered, we're going to set blue 01. Now set turns it on. Turns that LED on. Reset turns it off. Set turns it on. All right. So now let's close out that sequence. And we are done. That's all the code that we need. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So now we're done. Let's load it onto our command station. Now go ahead and unplug the USB cable from your I/O expander. Plug it into your command station. All right, now that you've unplugged the USB cable from your I/O expander and plugged it into your command station, let's go ahead and load that code that we just wrote onto our Arduino EX command station. So go ahead and launch EX installer again, and we're going to select Manage Arduino CLI. And we're going to select our device. And there it is. Select product to install. This time we're going to do the EX command station. Now over here we're going to select use my existing configuration files. So I'll select that and then I'll do browse. Now this is still set for my I/O expander. I don't want to load that onto my command station. So let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to the development. Let's see here. Then I'm going to want to select the config.h. Going to go to advanced config, and we're going to do compile and load, and we're going to load. And if we didn't make any mistakes, all right, at this point, the software is loaded on both the I/O expander and the command station. So let's back out of here and let's go back over to the Arduino. Let's go ahead and plug the power into our EX I/O expander. I'm using a 9 volt, 1.5 amp power supply that's for the Arduino. So that's gonna boot up. At this point, you're going to need to do a reset both here and here. To give it time to load. Okay, so it's finished booting up. I'm going to do a little test. I've got a magnet here, and I'm going to put that magnet over this reed switch. And the light comes on. Take the magnet away, the light goes off. So, if I wanted to add some more reed switches here, I could put, I could put up to 61 of them, actually, since I got one port used for an LED, but I would just keep adding them to the available pins, and these are all pins that are available for it as well, until I run out of pins, and then at that point, I would just put on another EXIO command station. And like I said, I would use this. I don't know what DCC-EX had really intended. I don't know if they intended for you to run a bunch of LEDs off of this. I certainly wouldn't. I have plans to use a PCA 9685 for LEDs and servo motors. I certainly would not run servo motors off of this. You could maybe run 2 servo motors off of this before you just run out of juice. So this, of course, is giving you more power when you're plugged into this 9 volt 1 amp power supply. So you're not taking the power from your main Arduino that's running your command station. So it does give you an additional power source to run more LEDs and whatever you want. But for me, for my layout, I had decided that I am only going to use the I/O expander for sensors, and that is it. I am going to do another video where I'm going to show you setting up the PCA 9685, and that's how I'm going to be doing my LEDs and my servos. So, all right, well, I would say this concludes another tutorial in this series. Look for another one hopefully soon. Have a good week, and what day is it? I gotta stop saying that. It is currently Wednesday. So, Wednesday morning it is right